I always wanted to be a doctor when I was young because I wanted to understand how the body worked. I was very influenced by the patients that I saw when I was a pediatrics resident. The rheumatology patients were among the sickest that we saw, and yet we didn't understand really the mechanisms of their disease to be able to treat them as well as we wanted to. I thought that if we could better understand disease mechanism, then we could make more of a difference. My clinical background in pediatric rheumatology, this is a field that attracts a fair amount of women, maybe a little bit more women than men actually in balance. And then in my lab research, I think that there are certainly more women coming into immunology and sort of lab research in general. When I was going through school, there were more men than women, but it wasn't something I thought very hard about, which is probably a good thing because I just went after something that I liked. I love what I'm doing right now. I'm doing, what I've always dreamed I wanted to do. I get to try to think about disease mechanisms and then try to make hypotheses about what's going on and then test these hypotheses. And we've been lucky enough to discover some things to help us better understand diseases such as lupus. And we're trying to go further in that understanding to make a change in terms of treatments for patients. So I think that having more women in science is really good, just as having more diversity in all different ways is a really good thing because everybody brings themselves to their work, to their research, and that will only benefit science. And science is really something that requires people to use everything they have to attack a problem. For instance, the diseases seen in pediatric rheumatology are often about joints and joint diseases, right? And I had grown up dancing a lot, like ballet and modern. And so when I saw these diseases, I felt like I had an intuitive understanding of what was going on because I thought about my joints and muscles a lot growing up. At the same time, I was actually the recipient of incredible mentoring in my dance classes actually growing up. It was still a model for me in terms of how I run my lab, in terms of the sort of close attention and the feedback that my dance teachers gave me while I was in class, and that I knew I appreciated, and that I still use those times when I mentor the people in my lab.